This is very simple. Is Mac Jones still the starter when he's healthy? That's the question. Something weird going on with the New England Patriots if Bill Belichick isn't willing to say Mac Jones is the guy when he's healthy.
Well, I'm not going to read too deep into it.
4 years ago, while the movers were moving out my furniture in my apartment, I was on the floor crying. When my brother asked me why I was crying, it was because, once again, I failed at something else. I failed YouTube after attempting it for 6 years at that point. I failed pursuing medicine, and now I failed dental school and a graduate program. And I just wanted a purpose at that point. I felt like the biggest loser in the world. And 5 months later, I relaunched my YouTube channel. 1 year later, I created Mikerophone. And now we hit 600,000 subscribers. And I just wanted to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, man. You guys all gave me a purpose. It's truly a blessing to come into this office each and every day and not only do something that I love, but do something that I genuinely feel passion for and that I'm good at. Yeah, I know there are times I make mistakes. There's times where I get got by shady sources. There's times where my titles might be too much or my thumbnails might be too much. But I promise you this, no matter what, I am always striving to better myself and improve, and trying to do so with humility and just a general sense of gratitude towards you guys, because I know without you guys, I'd be nothing. I don't want this intro to get too long. So you guys know we do giveaways for subscribers that turn on our notifications on this channel. And this week's giveaway winner for $100 is Nathan Weber. Nathan, congratulations, man. Comment in the comments section down below an email, an Instagram, a Twitter, some way I could reach you so I could give you your money. Thank you for subscribing and turning on our notifications on this channel. Now that we get all of that out of the way, work! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Here's a disclaimer. I feel like the media is really stirring up this story because they just want what happened 20 years ago with Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe to happen once again. And here's the thing. I am not here to pass this off as mere fact. I'm here just to take you guys through this roller coaster of a story that Bill Belichick is actually fueling the fire to. This video has been planned for about 10 days now, but I was sitting back and waiting to see if there's any legitimacy to what is happening in New England, because on October 12, 2022, Bill Belichick had the opportunity to put all this to rest. You see, Bill Belichick declined to say whether Mac Jones is the starter when he is healthy. You see, the reason for this is currently Bailey Zappi, the 4th round pick of the New England Patriots this past year in the NFL draft, a player who, when he got drafted, they actually filmed his entire draft process and how his family reacted. And most of the top comments were, why is this dude celebrating? The Patriots already have a Pro Bowl quarterback in Mac Jones starting for them. And currently, if you compare the two, Bailey Zappi has won 2 games, has a 73% completion percentage, has a 4 pass TD to interception ratio, has thrown 4 passing touchdowns to 1 interception, and has a 111.4 passer rating. Whereas Mac Jones has won 1 game, lost 2 games, completed 66% of his passes, threw 2 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, and has a 76.2 passer rating. I think my favorite part about all this is the fact that Bill Belichick is just continuing to stir the pot in the most Belichickian way, but at the same time, it could also be the media saying,
oh, he didn't name a starter, so we're gonna go ahead and say that there's a QB controversy.
Because when Belichick was asked, is Mac Jones the starter when he's ready to go, Belichick replied saying, we'll see where he is today, and I don't know. That's such a typical Bill Belichick response. He's just saying he doesn't know. It depends on where they are at that point. And as a result, well, of course, there is a Bailey Zappi Mac Jones QB controversy. And this is a little different than Cooper Rush versus Dak Prescott, because when Cooper Rush was starting for the Dallas Cowboys, don't get me wrong, he was an awesome QB, a great backup QB, but he was also starting in the place of a quarterback that just got a $40+ million contract extension. And with respect to Cooper Rush, as great as he was, there's specific throws that Dak Prescott was capable of making that Cooper Rush was not. Dak Prescott could potentially dig you out of holes, and this is just me being unbiased, whereas Cooper Rush was very dependent on the Dallas Cowboys defense and the Dallas Cowboys run game. The moment the Cowboys were facing a deficit, that's when Cooper Rush started to get himself into some trouble. And at this point, this is a little different because you did have Jerry Jones saying, wouldn't it be interesting if Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush had a QB controversy? But that was more in the sense that I hope Cooper Rush plays so well that there is a QB controversy. Meanwhile, you have Bill Belichick that really isn't doing us any favors, and what makes things even funnier is the fact that this is the guy that benched his quarterback that just got a huge contract extension in favor for a player that eventually became the greatest quarterback of all time. Now, no, I'm not calling Bailey Zappi the next coming of Tom Brady, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that it's something that was really being considered at this point. Now, this is where things get a little wild because I don't know if I agree with this at all whatsoever. I feel like the media might be taking the narrative and just distorting it into something that it's not, because some of the things that we're hearing in regards to these two, at least to me, I'm gonna bring it to you guys. You could form your own conclusions. I don't trust it. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. And it's the fact that Mac Jones is being humbled apparently as a result of his hubris from his successful rookie campaign. And as a result, there's apparently tension between Mac Jones and the New England Patriots. Guys, I'm gonna say this over and over again. I don't trust this. I think it's ridiculous. I think that they're trying to create something or twist this into something negative as a result of Bailey Zappi's success. I don't know why the media can't be happy for the fact that Bailey Zappi is having a great run as a 4th round QB, as the quarterback for the New England Patriots, and is instead fixated on the fact that Mac Jones, a former 1st round pick who played quarterback for Bill Belichick's best friend's collegiate powerhouse program, Alabama, might be benched upon his return. So here's what we have in regards to the situation. It's coming from Albert Breer. And I'll be honest, Albert Breer was before on my pedestal of people that I trust no matter what, until he pulled some that really got me over this past offseason in regards to Trey Lance being upset that the 49ers retained Jimmy Garoppolo. And at that point, ever since then, I started becoming a little bit more skeptical of Albert Breer. But this is what he had to say on the Dan Patrick Show.
You know, I think a big part of this is who Mac is, right? Mac is a big why guy. Like, he wants to know why you're doing something. Why are we running this? Why am I being coached this way? Why is this person being hired? Why are you handling my injury this way? New England's never been a big why place. You know, he was really close with Josh McDaniels. And obviously Josh got a lot out of him. And I think Mac had a ton of respect for the job that Josh did in developing him. This is obviously all very important to him, the way it is to any quarterback. And he knows how important the year 1 to year 2 transition is, how much growth there can be. And so I think a big part of it for him was, why are you hiring a defensive coach as my offensive coordinator? Why are you hiring a special teams coach as my quarterback's coach?
This is phrased really well. I don't know Mac Jones. I don't know how legitimate this is. I could also, however, understand the latter part of what Breer is saying here. If I was Mac Jones and I'm going into year 2, I would be kind of concerned that the offensive coordinator that made me settle into the NFL is gone, and in his place is a defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, who was a failed head coach recently, but again, we've discussed this in the past. Just because you're a failed head coach doesn't mean that you're a bad coordinator. But it is concerning that Matt Patricia is the offensive coordinator after being a defensive coordinator his entire career. At the same time, you might be wondering,
Mike, why would the Patriots make Matt Patricia the offensive coordinator instead of the defensive coordinator?
It appears as though Bill Belichick is trying to train his son, Steve Belichick, to become a defensive coordinator just like he was, and passing on his knowledge to him. And you have to also understand the Bill Belichick coaching tree. Bill Belichick has had some head coaches in the past, or some former coordinators in the past, that have betrayed him. A good example of this is Eric Mangini. That's a whole different video for a different day. All you need to know in this instance is Eric Mangini left post prematurely and really did a bunch of stuff to sour his relationship with Bill Belichick. And as a result, once Eric Mangini was out of a job, he no longer had a place to return on Bill Belichick's coaching staff. However, in the case of Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, it seems like these are two individuals that Bill Belichick trusts. Same with Josh McDaniels, an individual that Bill Belichick trusts. And it doesn't mean that you failed at being a head coach your first time, doesn't necessarily mean that you'll never get a gig again. It just means that you may have some stuff to work on. I mean, look at Pete Carroll. He had a failed tenure with the Patriots, then went to USC, then eventually got a job with the Seahawks, although interesting timing to leave USC, and he's been a very successful head coach ever since. Josh McDaniels had a failed tenure as a head coach of the Denver Broncos 10 years ago, and although he's gotten off to a rocky start in Las Vegas, who knows, he might have another opportunity there. What I'm trying to say is, I could understand Mac Jones's concern here, and I could understand him being a little worried about the fact that he's going into his sophomore season in the NFL, and he has a guy that's never been an offensive coordinator before working directly with him and in charge of his offense, which at the end of the day, as you saw earlier in the video, Mac Jones gets scrutinized if the offense doesn't work well. You don't look at the offensive coordinator usually and say it's your fault that this team's failing. I mean, obviously you do to a certain extent. I mean, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, for example, or like in the case of the Denver Broncos, we all blame Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson equally. But in this case, you just saw us compare Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi, and we're blaming Mac Jones for his lack of success in the earlier part of the season. But that's not all Breer had to say.
Why are we doing things differently? I had a lot of success last year. Why aren't we building on what we did last year? Why, right? With all the change and everything else in New England, there was some natural friction there. And so that was the background. And then there was disagreement over the handling of his injury and whether or not he should get surgery.
He thought he should, they thought he shouldn't, or vice versa?
No, vice versa. It was thought to be a pretty severe high ankle sprain. He's seen guys go through this, and he thought, I'm going to be better off just rehabbing the injury. There was some level of disagreement there. Now, because the high ankle sprain didn't wind up being quite as severe as initially thought, it wound up being less of an issue because now he's probably going to be able to get back within the time frame that the surgery would have put him back on the field. But there was some level of disagreement on that too. I think Mac's getting his job back. I think that there's a little bit of a lesson being taught here where it's, look, we're putting a 4th round rookie from Western Kentucky out there. Look what happens when he does what we tell him to.
So this is what I think is going to happen, and this is pure speculation. Bailey Zappi is facing off against the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football this upcoming week. Following that, Bill Belichick might have a decision to make because it's either Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones following that. Is he going to go with the hot hand in Bailey Zappi, or is he going to say, hey, Mac Jones, you got our message, you could come back in? Mac Jones comes in and faces off against the incredibly underrated New York Jets defense. Mac Jones might struggle against the Jets defense. Bailey Zappi might get the start against the Indianapolis Colts. That's what I think is going to happen. At the end of the day, it's really difficult to predict what will happen because we don't know if this is a schematic thing for Bailey Zappi having this much success over Mac Jones, if it's the fact that they don't have a lot of tape on Bailey Zappi and that's why he's having a lot of success against these teams, or if it's the fact that Bailey Zappi's just a better quarterback than Mac Jones. We don't know if it's the fact that Bailey Zappi's more coachable than Mac Jones. All of these factors are obviously going to be considered when Bill Belichick inevitably makes a decision between Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. Let me know in the comment section down below. Who do you think should start for the Patriots? Should they continue to ride with the hot hand, or do you think it's time that they put Mac Jones back in and it's just a product of circumstance that Bailey Zappi's performing this well? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.